Hello, my name is Laura Castillo. The date is Sunday, January 21st, 2018, and this video we're going to be going over the lab for this week, which is the aseptic technique as well as culturing microbes. So throughout this lab experiment, the first portion of the experiment was to create cultures with the nutrient broths. And the first one I have here is the E. coli. And that's the E. coli. As you can tell, the broth is mostly clear. It's slightly turbid. As far as growth, there's very little growth, just the very, very bottom of it. So you kind of see there. So that's the E. coli. And then the next one I have here is the S. epidermis, which is actually has more of a flocculent growth at the bottom. So you kind of see that there. So that's this culture. And then the third one is the S. cerevisiae. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correct. And this one I think has the most growth in it. It's very cloudy, also contains some growth at the bottom, and if you kind of swivel it a little, it does move around throughout the tube. So these are the three nutrient broths that they did have to culture for a few days. With these ones, according to the instructions, you had to let them culture for 48 hours. If there wasn't much growth, we were to add an extra 24 hours. I decided to add an extra 24 hours. I didn't see too much growth in the E. coli, and actually even now it's still barely growing, it looks like, so I did add that extra 24 hours. And so after that extra 24, I see more growth in all of them. And while it's been more than that now, so obviously there's more growth in all of them. And so these were to be used with the next part of the lab. On the next part of the lab, in addition to what we created are agar plates, which I did the 3 agar plates as instructed. I did run into a little bit of trouble in this portion. I think I should have managed my time a little bit better, but this is what I ended up with. So with the aseptic technique, we were to use the inoculation loops and basically dip that into each broth and then spread it throughout each of the agar plates in 4 different quadrants. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. I actually numbered them to help me know which quadrant I was in. So I got 1, 2, 3, and 4 right there. And so once we had spread that around on each plates, we did have to let these incubate for some time. And I had these incubating for about 3 days so far. And some of them there's growth. Actually, this one's the E. coli one. This one, I don't really see too much growth. Very tiny little specks in there. It's actually really, really hard to see, but there's some here at the bottom on the 3rd quadrant, but there's really isn't too much. And so I think this just actually has to incubate a little bit longer. The S. epidermis, that one there is some growth. I don't know if you can tell in the video, maybe at this angle a little bit. You can kind of see some at the top. Obviously there's going to be more growth in the 1st quadrant just because that's where most of the solution goes, and then we dilute it throughout, and then the 4th would have the least amount of the growth. So that's the S. epidermis. This one actually has the most, which is the cerevisiae, or the yeast. And this one, let's see, there you go. So at this angle you could kind of see, obviously in the 1st quadrant where I did my aseptic technique, and that's where the most growth is at. And then number 2, it's a little bit less, and then number 3 is a little bit less, and then number 4, you can see that there's just a couple specks in there. And so I really enjoyed this lab. I do, like I said, wish I would have given myself more time to let these plates incubate a little bit longer. So I'll keep them incubating. From what I understand, we might be using these in the future. So I look forward to see what grows in these. Thank you very much.